What's going on, nation? Your man Sly here, and happy Labor Day to the American workforce out there. You guys earned a day to sit back in your fat pants, grill out, and game until you fall asleep, so let's do just that. Now, if you're thinking of partaking in some of that Battlefield 1 beta action, it is still going on, and so far, I can't find out exactly when it's supposed to end. DICE hasn't officially announced anything yet, and that is of the morning of September 5th. So if you haven't had the chance to try it out, you're in luck because it is definitely still going on. And like most new games that come out, I want to try and start giving out reviews for as many of them as possible. I love all games equally, and my rating is completely unbiased. So if you want a simple, honest review, well then my friend, you stumbled onto the right channel. Alright, well let's get into it, and I'm just going to slam it down right here, right at the start. It is by far not going to be a Call of Duty killer, I am sorry to say. There's a reason why games based back in World War II, World War I, Vietnam, etc., all of those are back there because of limited options. Wars back then didn't have high-tech scopes. They didn't have efficient machines or accurate bombs, hypersonic planes. Well, okay, maybe in Vietnam, but you get the picture here, right? It has been done before and done pretty damn well back in the previous years. Even though people wanted to get out of the future and back into the World War era, this game makes me realize why we haven't gone back in time these past few years. Diversity, plain and simple. I mean, sure, there are different weapons, but nothing like the present, and nowhere near the endless possibilities of the future. You're confined to the technology of the past, and that restricts a lot of artistic freedom. I gave Battlefield 1 a few good days of playing before I decided to critique it. I played on PC as well as Xbox One, and I personally don't think they took advantage fully to what the PC has to offer. Besides smoothness of frames and gameplay, the graphics aren't that much different besides a few particle effects. The only way you can really tell is when you're looking at something far away, maybe the cursor in the HUD, but that's about it, guys. The landscape is what you would expect from a Battlefield map. I mean, huge, detailed in the right places, and full of vehicles. But it's too big, man. There are so many dead zones. And if you spawn in late, you're going to have a good 2 to 3 minute run across absolutely nothing until you find a vehicle randomly, or you hop in with somebody. Getting into the action from spawn is absolutely terrible, guys. It's long, boring, and many times you just feel like leaving. Some vehicles are fun, but most are horrendously restrictive. You can't turn the gun fast enough or far enough in one way or another to shoot an enemy in time, or you'll end up losing him because of your extremely narrow sight lines on a mounted weapon. By far, the horse and the airplane are the most fun and easiest to use. The randomly mounted machine guns are super slow to move, and if you're ADSing, you're literally looking through like a 4-inch hole within the armor, and it is incredibly easy just to fancifully stroll right next to somebody shooting and they wouldn't even notice you because how horrible the radar is. The gunplay, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. The weapons limit, the kind of engagements you can have, but they feel good to shoot. The gunplay, overall, pretty solid, but it is a little stiff and slow. Since it's set back in the day, you don't really have that many scope options. The sniper rifle scope does a good job at recreating the feel of an old bolt action style sniper, but you start to miss a red dot on your primary very, very quickly. On PC, unless you're at range, hip firing most of the automatic weapons is the way to go. My favorite by far was the Medic's rifle. Accurate, fast-firing, single-shot semi-auto. High damage at all ranges, it felt good to use. I have a feeling the campaign will do this game a little more justice. Because the map they chose, the game type especially, Rush, it is a large, confusing mess the first few times that you play it. And since the areas change in Rush, people camp out of bounds on cliffs and just snipe the entire match. It is very annoying. You can't even chase after them to get them. Again, it's a beta, that kind of shit happens, but still, it's terrible, guys. Graphically, this would have been a good time to show off DICE's engine and their capabilities in this next-gen title. Whether they like it or not, betas are also huge marketing outlets, and people will order the game based on how it felt in the beta. A sandy, dead, vistaless desert is not the way to show off what you have in store, and even though they have tons of vehicles and tons of mounted weapons, most of them are terrible to use. The gunplay is what's going to make this game, and they have a lot of work to do at that. The radar, absolutely terrible. No one knows where the enemies are, and you can literally stand behind someone blasting them in the head, and they won't even turn around to look at you because they don't know where the damage is coming from until they're dead, and then the killer becomes highlighted. The radar, of course, does show where some enemies are, but it's too quick, It's too generalized and they need a better way to show what's going on. Fixing that will improve a lot of other things because right now it is simply camper's paradise. The gas is a cool touch, but since you have a gas mask, it's not that big of a deal, more of an annoyance than anything else. And you can't aim certain weapons when you have your gas mask on. But if you're an automatic weapons user, it's a breeze to hip fire, especially since a lot of them are good with bullet tracing. I do think that enemy health is an issue. If not that, then the guns need a little better balancing. You can totally lay into someone with one machine gun and not kill them. Yet another one will completely destroy them in 5 bullets, or a semi-automatic rifle is a 3-bullet kill. Maybe it was just a range issue when I was using it, but small stuff like that will definitely need to be adjusted before release. I realize that it's a beta, but frankly, I've been skeptical about Battlefield 1 since I heard about it. Going that far back in time to where planes were pretty much still a new invention, the jet engine hasn't even been thought of yet, and tanks were still experimental. Hardly any scopes, no paratroopers, odd-looking assault rifles and machine guns, and that's all been done before, and it really limits to what players can ultimately do within this game. While I have no doubt that it will be a fun campaign to play and somewhat interesting to see how they turn constraints into opportunities, the multiplayer simply feels empty and dry. Shooters like this, guys, they're a dime a dozen, and there really isn't that much that stands out that speaks to me like, hey, I definitely need to pre-order this game ASAP. I've been a fan of Battlefield and their competitors for years. Each of them have their strengths, and I don't prefer one over another. But this only looks like a Battlefield game by the amount of vehicles, and since they're limited to how they act, they don't shine as they need to. There'll be other weapons and different vehicles when the full game comes out, but I don't see them being night and day different to what we are already offered. And customization-wise, I'm actually kind of scared to see how that's going to turn out. As it stands, guys, I would give it a 3 out of 5. And I can't believe I'm saying that about a Battlefield game, but it's the honest truth. I understand it's a beta, but you can see what the final goal is when you play a beta. And by this time, it's mostly cosmetic and connection issues, not fundamental gameplay changes. And unfortunately, it needs both. So I'm still curious to see the campaign, because even though multiplayer map choice was terrible, I think we're going to get a lot of awesome locations in the story. Multiplayer though, guys, that really needs some help. I am very curious to see how they react to all this criticism, because I know I'm not the first to say this kind of stuff, and some have even went 10 times as hard as I did, which was a little unnecessary. But yeah, that's it, guys. I was rather unimpressed by it, honestly, and let's hope that they have the time to fix or adjust what they need by the time it launches. There were a lot of things to polish over, but despite all of that, the gunplay is pretty good, and if polished up right, with some vehicle makeovers, it could still be a great game to play. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and as always, if you want to stay up to date or keep in touch about anything Destiny or The Division, follow me on Twitter at SlyNation. It's the best place to stay in the know about new videos from my channel or breaking news about our favorite games. I'll have more vids coming out here very soon, so until then, this is your boy Sly. Done, gone, out.